A cold night should have ended like any other for Cassiel Nesta. But what he saw near the abandoned roadside changed everything. A faint cry broke through the silence. Not from an animal. Not from the wind. But from a woman in uniform lying half-conscious in the dirt. Cassiel froze as his flashlight revealed blood on her badge. And a message written on her hand that she could barely hold up. She whispered something that made no sense at first. But it would soon shake an entire police department. Because the woman he found was not just any officer. She was Officer Violet Bowen. And what she said before losing consciousness would pull Cassiel into a storm he never asked for. Before we go deeper into this case, take a second and hit the subscribe button, give this video a like, and let us know where you're watching from. I'm curious to know how far these stories travel. But the real question is simple. Why was she left there alone to die? And who was trying to make sure she never spoke again? Cassiel Nesta woke up every morning before sunrise. The house was quiet except for the sound of his two sons breathing in the next room. He moved carefully so he would not wake Vince and Jaden. Life had been hard since their mother left. Every bill felt heavier than the last. Cassiel worked 2 jobs when he could find them. Delivery shifts during the day. Cleaning work at night. Sleep was something he stole in small pieces. Most mornings he stood in the kitchen staring at empty shelves, wondering how long he could keep this going. Vince, his older son, noticed everything. He never complained. But his eyes carried worry that no child should carry. Jaden was different. He still believed his father could fix anything. That belief was the only thing keeping Cassiel from breaking. Before school, Cassiel packed simple lunches. Sometimes just bread and water. He always pretended it was enough. "Dad, are we okay?" Jaden once asked quietly. Cassiel smiled even when it hurt. "We are always okay as long as we are together." But after they left for school, Cassiel often stood alone in the empty room. Silence pressed on him like a weight. He thought about giving up many times. But he never did. Because 2 small faces kept him anchored to life. That night, he picked up an extra delivery shift outside the city. The road was long and empty. No cars. No lights. Just darkness stretching ahead. And that was the night everything changed. Cassiel had no idea that something broken was waiting for him just beyond the bend. Something that would pull him into a situation he could never escape. The road grew colder as Cassiel drove further from the city lights. His old truck rattled with every bump. He almost turned back twice. But the extra money was needed for rent. Then he saw it. A shape near the roadside. Barely visible. At first he thought it was debris. Then it moved. Cassiel stepped out of his truck slowly. His flashlight cut through the dark. And what he saw made his chest tighten. A woman in a police uniform was lying on the ground. Barely conscious. Her breathing shallow. Blood stained her sleeve. Cassiel dropped to his knees immediately. "Hey, can you hear me?" he said urgently. Her eyes flickered open for a second. She tried to speak but nothing came out clearly. Her hand trembled as she grabbed his wrist. Cassiel looked around. No cars. No help. Only silence. The woman was Officer Violet Bowen. And she was dying. Cassiel felt panic rise in his chest. He was just a father. Not a medic. Not police. Nothing prepared him for this. But then he noticed something strange. Her fingers were clenched around a folded piece of paper. Or maybe a note written on her palm. Before he could understand it, she whispered something broken and faint. "Do not trust." Then her eyes closed again. Cassiel felt a wave of fear wash over him. Because now this was not just an accident. Something had happened here. Something dangerous. And whoever did this might still be nearby. A distant engine sound echoed from the road behind him. And Cassiel realized he was no longer alone out there. Cassiel dragged Officer Violet Bowen into his truck with shaking hands. Her body felt too light. Too fragile. He drove fast. Too fast for the dark road. His mind kept replaying her words. Do not trust. But trust who? His hands tightened on the steering wheel. Vince and Jaden were at home sleeping. And Cassiel had just brought a dying police officer into his life. When he reached the nearest hospital, chaos followed immediately. Doctors rushed her in. Nurses shouted instructions. Cassiel stood outside covered in dust and blood he did not understand. Minutes felt like hours. Then police arrived. Captain Don Gary stepped forward with a hard expression. "What were you doing with her?" he demanded. Cassiel tried to explain. But the captain did not listen. Detective Maria Palmer arrived next. She studied Cassiel carefully. Not accusing. Not comforting. Just watching. Officer Carlos Taylor stood behind the captain. His eyes were cold. Too cold. Cassiel felt something wrong immediately. "You should come with us," Captain Gary said. Cassiel felt his stomach drop. "I saved her life," he said quietly. But no one reacted. Inside the hospital, Dr. Dwight Carlson came out with a serious face. "She is alive but critical," he said. He paused. "And she was attacked." The words hit like thunder. Cassiel's heart sank. Now he was not just a witness. He was part of something bigger. Something dangerous. Detective Maria stepped closer. "Tell me everything you saw," she said softly. Cassiel started speaking. But every detail made the officers exchange strange looks. Especially Officer Carlos Taylor. Something in his expression changed when Violet's name was mentioned. And that was when Cassiel realized. This case was not clean. And he might be standing in the middle of something very dark. The hospital doors suddenly opened again. And someone new had arrived asking for him specifically. Detective Maria pulled Cassiel aside quietly. "They think you are involved," she whispered. Cassiel shook his head. "I have 2 kids at home." Her expression softened. "I believe you," she said. Then she handed him something. A small evidence bag. Inside was a torn piece of Violet Bowen's note. It read, "Carlos did it." Cassiel felt his breath stop. Officer Carlos Taylor. The same officer who watched him earlier. Before he could react, Dr. Dwight Carlson walked in quickly. "She is awake," he said. Cassiel moved without thinking. Inside the hospital room, Violet looked weak but aware. Her eyes locked on Cassiel. "You found me," she whispered. Cassiel nodded. "You were not supposed to," she added softly. Her voice shook. "They tried to kill me because I saw something." Cassiel leaned closer. "What did you see?" Tears filled her eyes. "Evidence disappearances inside the department." A long silence followed. Then she grabbed Cassiel's hand. "If anything happens to me again, protect my testimony." Cassiel felt something shift inside him. Fear was still there. But so was purpose. Outside the room, footsteps approached quickly. And Detective Maria's voice turned sharp. "Move, he is coming." Cassiel turned. And saw Officer Carlos Taylor standing at the door. Watching everything. The investigation exploded after Violet's statement. The department was forced into lockdown procedures. Captain Don Gary no longer looked certain. Doubt had entered his authority. Detective Maria Palmer took full control of evidence handling. Cassiel was cleared as a witness. But he was not the same man anymore. He returned home to Vince and Jaden. Vince saw it immediately. "Dad, something happened to you." Cassiel sat down slowly. "I helped someone who needed me." Jaden hugged him without asking questions. In the following days, Officer Violet Bowen stabilized. Her testimony exposed hidden corruption inside the department. Officer Carlos Taylor was taken in for questioning. But the truth was bigger than one man. It was a system being rebuilt. One morning, Detective Maria visited Cassiel's home. "She asked for you," she said. Cassiel went to the hospital. Violet was sitting up now. She looked stronger. "You stayed," she said softly. Cassiel nodded. "I could not walk away." A faint smile appeared on her face. "Most people would have," Cassiel looked down. I am just a father trying to survive. Violet shook her head. No, she said. You are the reason I am still alive. Silence filled the room. Not heavy, but peaceful. For the first time in a long time, Cassiel felt like something in his life made sense again. Cassiel Nesta never planned to be part of a police case. He was just a single father trying to survive each day. But one decision changed everything. He chose not to walk away. He chose to help someone he did not even know. And that choice exposed truth, corruption, and hidden danger inside a department that thought it was untouchable. Officer Violet Bowen survived because someone stopped. Not for reward. Not for recognition. But because it was the right thing to do in that moment. Life did not become easy for Cassiel after that night. But it became meaningful in a way he never expected. His son saw something new in him. Strength that did not come from money or status, but from courage under pressure. Before we finish this story, take a moment and think about Cassiel's choice in that dark roadside moment, when everything could have gone wrong. Before we continue, take a second and share your thoughts so far on this story below. I read every single one. If you were in his place, carrying the weight of 2 children and no stability, would you have stopped for a stranger in uniform bleeding in the dark? Because that single decision changed more than one life. It changed an entire system. And reminded everyone that sometimes the smallest act of courage becomes the loudest truth. Before we go, I would love to hear your point of view. Tell me what part hit you the hardest in the story, and share your thoughts in the comments. If this story touched you, like this video, especially if you believe in second chances and quiet bravery. Single parents watching this, drop a comment and let your voice be heard because your strength matters more than you think. And if you want more emotional stories like this, make sure to subscribe to the Redeemed Single Dad. Thank you for watching and being part of this journey. Until the next story, stay strong, stay kind, and never ignore the moment that asks you to care.